Welcome back to the channel. Today we're not going to do anything too hardcore, but we are going to look at this old Jeep sound system because I've done a few videos in the past about the sound system, adding a sub. That's about it. So, okay, one video in the past. I have talked about doing some things to it. Today we're going to try to do a little bit of improvement on it. So let's take a look at what I'm doing. So guys, I was able to pick this up for free, and this is a Jeep enclosure. It's actually a Mopar. I think they call it a sound deck or a sub deck. And what it is it creates a trunk space in your Jeep, and it also puts an 8-inch subwoofer behind the rear seat. So this is an earlier model Jeep TJ, and in the earlier model Jeep TJs, they didn't offer a sub in the console. Excuse the mess back here. They didn't offer a sub in the console, so this is a solution that they had to put a sub behind the rear seat. And this is contoured to specifically fit behind the rear seat and create a shelf for the sub, and when it's in there, an actual little bit of a trunk space as well. From factory, this is an 8-inch sub with a, I believe this is about a 50 watt max, 25 watt continuous amp in this little space right here, and a couple tweeters, and then there's a factory plug that comes out right here. I've got it shoved down in there right now. I don't have the factory harness to plug this in, so I'm going to have to create something. I think what I'm going to do is, since I don't know the condition of this, I know that the speaker was missing and probably blown because it's just a paper speaker that comes with it. So I have put a sub in here. We'll talk about that in a second. And I don't know the condition of this. I know this is in a barn for years and years and years. So I'm probably just not going to use this just to ease any pain involved in trying to get this to work. But let me go get a small Torx and a screwdriver, and I'll go ahead and take all this back out because nothing's wired yet. And we'll show you kind of what this sound deck's all about. So the first thing you notice is there's only 4 mounting bolts. There's a mounting ring and then a grill that goes on it. I'm going to leave all that as stock as possible because the sub I have, although it has 10 mounting points, the 4 on the north, south, east, and west corners fit perfectly onto these. That 8-inch sub has come out of the sub that I removed from the back of my Jeep. If you go back and watch my other sub install, you can see the cheap Walmart sub that I had in here. It was extremely effective. It was loud. It was very deep. It was actually a very good sub for the money. So that's what I'm going to use in this, so as to make this as cheap as possible, hopefully almost free. So that's the amp. You can see the factory plug, and then you can see all the wires. This is going to be your remote and your power and your ground, and then a bunch of speaker wires. I'm not sure how this thing worked. I don't know. I haven't looked at the schematic. All I know is that I'm not going to be using this particular 25 watt continuous amp. Now you may be asking, why did I take my old amp out, or my old amplifier and speaker out? I need to put my back seat back in. Some things have occurred that I'm going to need the use of a back seat after all, so I am getting a back seat put back in, and I need that space, and the amp took up the spot. It was pretty tall. It took up the spot. It really wouldn't fit well behind the seat, so I'm going to put this one back here, and this one is going to serve some unique challenges. Number one, I've got to get it rewired, and then my drop down tailgate hinges and bolts and support lines are in the way, so we're going to have to talk about clearancing this box to fit around those. My plan is to use this 8-inch speaker, which will cost me nothing. My plan is to reuse this box, obviously, and modify it to fit around, and to seal this up where this amp goes. So a long time ago, before I started YouTube, I built a rolling cooler slash speaker combo that utilized a couple of marine speakers, lawnmower battery, including this cheap marine grade, call it marine grade, this cheap amplifier from Pyle that is just a simple 2-channel amplifier. I can't remember what it was rated for, but it pushed the 2 6.5-inch speakers really well. It was pretty loud. It does have RCA inputs. If it sounds okay, then this will be the amp I run. So I'm fixing to hook up everything from my old speaker system onto this, hook it up to that speaker, and see if it will work. It is 2-channel, so not sure how that's going to work. I didn't videotape a whole lot about getting this wired up because it's very straightforward on this little amp. It's just got 2 inputs, or 2 outputs I should say, It's just a 2-channel amp, so I wired one output, the primary output, to the subwoofer, and the other one to the tweeters. I wired both tweeters into the same output. I know this isn't necessarily the right type of amp to run a subwoofer, but it's what I had and it was free. And again, I'm trying to go cost zero on this setup. So I can say it does work. I'll play a little bit for you here in a second, like 2 or 3 seconds worth of a song, because any song I pick is going to give me a copyright strike. I'll try to play the same song that I played on my last subwoofer install. I believe this tweeter's blown and that tweeter's okay. So I'll probably go ahead and wire up the tweeters, but I will be replacing these. One thing you might notice with this, what I call a sound deck or whatever, it doesn't have any air ports on it, which does limit a little bit of the bass. I am going to have to cut holes for these bolts in this right here. It's not going to be ported properly or anything like that, but it could actually improve the sound a little bit, and you can feel air being pushed out right here and around the tweeters when that subwoofer is going. I'm wiring this amp externally so that I can get a proper amp for it. All right, so here it is in the Jeep. You can see the notches I had to cut for the 2 sides, and it's in there very sturdily, if that's a word. As you can see, ever since I put the gray seats in, I took the tan rear seat out, so I'm probably going to have to get a seat cover for it. I'm sure I know I will, because it doesn't match. Looks like hell. There's still room to reach down, I believe, and hit the, yep, to get the seat up. So that's good, and you can see how the cutouts allow the seat to come up. Oh. So there's supposed to be hinges at the bottom. There are brackets, there are factory brackets that can be screwed into the floor. I'll look into those, but right now I'm not that concerned with it. All right, so now the part you've all been waiting for. Let me hook this up and see what it sounds like. That's gonna be the final mount for that little amp, and it's gonna keep me being cost zero. So I've got it bolted into the floor so it doesn't move around. I've got some wires ran, you can see ran behind this. When I get new carpet, which I am getting new gray carpet, I will be getting that a little more contained. But right now everything's ran up, it's grounded. The power wire's connected. So just like last time, I can't play much of the song because of copyright strikes, but that's the same song from last time. I'll tell you a few things. I don't have the tweeters hooked up because they are blown. The tweeters do add a dimension that I am going to need to hook them back up, because they make the whole stereo system sound a lot better. The sub that I took out was a dedicated bass sub. It was only designed for bass, and so it did sound louder and deeper. Of course, it was set up that way. I'm going to put some polyfill in this. I'm going to port those holes that I drilled a little bit better. I should have maybe 10 bucks in it when it's all said and done, other than buying a new amp. But from an ergonomic standpoint, it is much better. All right, guys, here's the final install. I say final, I'm still going to replace the amp. I'm definitely going to replace the tweeters, although they're working. They're pretty shot. And then eventually I'll probably go ahead and replace the speaker too. But for right now, the actual subwoofer works fine. It's just that this little amp doesn't have isn't bridgeable. It doesn't have a crossover or anything like that. It doesn't isolate the bass into the subwoofer. This is made to just run 2 speakers, just 2 standard speakers. So I'll get a proper amp, small, proper little 100-watt amp, 200-watt amp that will have a crossover built in, so that I can run just bass out of it. But it looks really good. The gray turned out well, almost matches the seats, but it leaves me a trunk space. It's made to let the seat fold back completely. And then I need to replace this weather stripping. It's the only thing left to replace. It's pretty much had it, but I'll get a nice weather stripping to go along through there, and I'll scrape that out. See what it looks like with that up, and it creates a nice trunk. So guys, that's it for the sound deck install. Obviously it's not much different than the normal subwoofer install, but I think it turned out great. It allows me to use my back seat. If you can find one, I think they're pretty cool. Obviously Jeep went away from that and went to the speaker in the console, which is also a great place to put a subwoofer, but this Jeep's too old. It doesn't have that wired in, doesn't have that type of console, and I wasn't going to spend the money on the console when I got the sound deck for free. If you find one of these old Mopar sound decks, they're factory units. They're real nice. I would snatch it up because they're super easy to work on, and there's nothing fancy with them. You can, although I have $3 worth of spray paint in it. Although I got $3 in it, that's it. I got the sound deck for free. Already had the speaker wire. Already had the speaker. Already had the little amp. I actually kind of like it without the crossover, to where it actually produces music instead of just bass. It distorts a little bit, obviously, but it is very loud going down the road. Guys, I hope you liked the video. There'll be some more Jeep videos coming up, and hopefully some other content coming up. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching. Have a great day.